Denny Hamlin wins at Gateway, and of course he had a one-liner after his win. Was Gateway a good race? We'll recap it, trouble for some playoff drivers, talk about some points. What were the Trackhouse cars doing after the race? And then we'll talk about Connor Zilisch, his video game numbers-esque run that he is on right now, and cameraman. Maybe we get him off the racetrack during the burnouts. Welcome back to Break Hard. I'm Matt. Denny Hamlin picked up his series-leading 5th NASCAR Cup Series win of the season on Sunday at Gateway, and he got out after the race, did a huge burnout, turns to Marty Snyder and says, get on the bandwagon or get run over. Now, personally, me here, looking at the sample size, historically speaking, the wheels fall off of that proverbial bandwagon before they hand out the trophy in the final race of the year, so I'm going to stand in front of this bandwagon and feel pretty confident that I'm not going to get run over by it. In the elimination style format since 2014, in that championship race, Denny Hamlin has never finished better than 3rd. So now he's talking about going on to win a championship. And listen, he's the best driver in NASCAR history to not win a championship, at least in terms of numbers. The guy continues to rack up wins, but when it comes to performing in that final race, he just can't get it done. And even when it was the chase, just couldn't get it done. So I feel confident in saying that looking at the sample size, I'm not going to hop on the bandwagon here. I'm interested to see if people are going to hop onto it. But before we get into the race recap, was this a good race? Over on TikTok, I gave this race a 70. And that's what I thought it was. I thought it was a C- race. It wasn't anything that's going to be super memorable like all the other races at Gateway. It was fine. It was a race that happened, but it's not one that you're going to remember years down the road, and probably not one you're going to want to go back and watch again, unless, of course, it's just next year and you just want to watch what happened at the track the year before. Overall, it was okay. You had 10 cautions for 52 laps, 15 different lead changes, 3 drivers lead 50 laps or more, so that's good. But ultimately, this becomes the 8th race out of the last 10 where the winner has started on the front row. And track position is wildly important. Qualifying has basically become as important as it is in Formula One because it's incredibly hard to pass. Your top 2 finishers started 1st and 3rd. Now, Chase Elliott did go from 19th to 3rd, which is great for him, but he worked some strategy and, helped him out there. But the Hendrick cars did have some speed on Sunday. So let's get into the race recap here, because early on in this race, on lap 7, Kyle Larson, a green flag on track pass for the lead. Kyle Larson passes Denny Hamlin on lap 7. So it's not right after a restart, but cars are still close-ish. We have our first caution. Kyle Busch spins off of turn 2. Just not a great weekend for the RCR boys. They did salvage decent finishes, 18th for Austin Dillon and a 22nd place finish for Kyle Busch, but not a great day for them. Then we had our first incident after that, that involved a playoff driver. Josh Berry just got absolutely nuked into the wall. J. Robert Oppenheimer would be absolutely ecstatic with how Chase Elliott just destroyed that 21 car. Now, Chase Elliott didn't do it on purpose, but the 21 car didn't look that bad until it turned around on the racetrack after sliding into the wall, and the left front wheel was just straight out of 90. Not ideal there. You can't run. Wheels are meant to be round. Wheels that are turned on 90 degrees, clunk along like that. Probably Whistle and Diesel can do a video about it when he's not doing whatever else he is by trying to destroy his own channel, it appears, over there. So Elliott unfortunately gets into Berry. Josh Berry gets out afterwards. He's like, I know Chase didn't mean to do it. And he didn't. You see him get underneath him, gets loose, and then just ships the 21. And Josh didn't have anywhere to go. At least he made it further than 1 lap this week, but ultimately just a disaster start to the playoffs for Josh Berry. Now, we did have some interesting pit strategy throughout this race. We had Kyle Larson in the majority of the field pitted, but then we had some other people stay out. And that's where things kind of took a turn. And ultimately, it would be the people that stay out, the Denny Hamlin, Chase Briscoe, those guys that would end up having the better strategy towards the end of this race. Shane Van Gisbergen, he showed up on Sunday ready to be aggressive, which was really cool to see because obviously that's probably been one of his weaker points throughout his cup rookie season so far, especially on ovals. Not that aggressive, just moved Austin Cindric out of the way, was willing to rub fenders. Great to see from all of them. Chase Briscoe would go on to win stage number 1. Then we have another weird caution where Chase Briscoe, 3 wide in the middle, getting into turn 1, locks it up, and then hits the 99 of Daniel Suarez, sends him into the wall, and ended Suarez's day. Not the choice that Suarez would have had, and that's a sponsor tie-in for Daniel Suarez, who was serving waffles in the media center this week because his sponsor, Choice Hotels, I guess, has waffle makers in them. Really cool sort of activation there in a sense. Then we had another split decision in terms of pit stop, but Wallace and others pit, and then we have everybody else stay out. Then Our next caution was Dillon on Dillon violence. Austin Dillon gets into Ty Dillon and sends him into the wall. They're racing for like 34th place at that point. Austin immediately comes over the radio and he's like, obviously that was not intentional. I didn't mean to do that. I'm driving a terrible race car out here, just going through it. The Dillon brothers did not have a very good weekend in Gateway. Probably ready to go home. Then we have Kyle Larson. Just absolutely sent it from 10 car lengths back and punted Ryan Blaney like he was trying out for the St. Louis. That's right. No, I don't have an NFL team anymore. But like he was trying out for an NFL team, but the city doesn't have one any longer. Sends the 12 car of Ryan Blaney around, and he ended up not hitting anything. And Blaney able to rebound for a 4th place finish, but was not happy about it after the race. Went over and grabbed Larson when Larson was talking to the media and was like, "What happened?" And Larson's like, "I just messed up, dude. Just on me." Then we had Bubba Wallace. He ends up winning stage number 2. Bubba Wallace, really strong car on Sunday, led 73 laps, and then ultimately it was a doomed restart that got him. The car got stuck in gear, and that was kind of the end of the day for Bubba. He would end up finishing 8th instead of contending for the win there. Then we get SVG going around, so another playoff driver involved in an incident here. Didn't hit anything, but still not the day that he wanted. Could have had a good day. We'll talk about that in a second. Ends up with a 25th place finish. On lap 158, Bubba Wallace and Austin Cindric and everybody else pit. They think they can make it from there. They can make it from there. And that's where we have these two different strategies, because we had some drivers trying to make it to the end of the race after that pit stop. Then on like lap 197, 198-ish, Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, and the other leaders, they pit from there. So now you have these two different strategies of people staying out, trying to stretch it until the end, and then people on fresh tires with plenty of fuel trying to come up through the field and catch them. Should be really entertaining. Until Ty Dillon unfortunately blows a brake rotor, getting off into turn 1. Thankfully, he was okay, put it against the wall, did not take a huge hit, which is always good to see. That ruined the strategy right there. That was done. Larson, everybody else that was trying to stay out, they end up pitting, and they weren't going to be able to get it done there at the end. SVG did lead the race off of pit road, which would have put him in a good spot to have great track position for that final run, except for he sped. So that kind of ruined it from there. Ultimately, it was Denny Hamlin coming out on top, Chase Briscoe in second, Chase Elliott in third, Ryan Blaney fourth, Joey Logano fifth, John Hunter Nemechek and that Legacy Motor Club team continue to show speed. P6 finish for all of them. Christopher Bell, who went absolutely ballistic on the radio afterwards, just incensed with Adam Stevens once again getting the strategy call wrong. I've never heard Christopher Bell swear before. I've never heard Christopher Bell be mad. I did not think that was possible, but he was absolutely furious after the race. And I get it, right? He's struggled. He hasn't won a points pain race since back in the springtime. He hasn't won a race since the All-Star race back in May. And now he kind of handed away probably a top 3 finish, maybe top 5 finish for sure. Ends up finishing 7th. Bubba Wallace finishes 8th. Chris Buescher in 9th, and Ty Gibbs rounds out your top 10. So overall, I thought it was an okay race. I didn't think it was the best race that we've ever seen, but let's talk about the points, because Denny Hamlin has locked himself into the next round, obviously with his 5 wins plus a win this round. That's great for him. Chase Briscoe also locked into the next round. Then you have Kyle Larson plus 60. He is in a phenomenal spot being plus 60, because you can only earn 61 points. That's the max amount of points that you can earn in a Cup Series weekend, so he's sitting pretty well. Bubba Wallace, 4th in points, plus 50 over the cutoff line. Bubba Wallace is a contender to get to that Final Four. In Phoenix, as much as some of the people want to hate it, he is actually putting together a really good season so far and a really good playoffs. Then you have Ryan Blaney, he's plus 42, William Byron plus 39, Tyler Reddick plus 37, Christopher Bell plus 32, Chase Elliott plus 28, Joey Logano plus 21. I think that's where you start to get into be a little, okay, things could maybe go wrong for them here, especially if somebody below the cutoff line has a really good stage points day and then gets a decent finish out of it on Saturday night at Bristol. Ross Chastain plus 19, Austin Cindric plus 11. Now below the cutoff line is Austin Dillon minus 11, Shane Van Gisbergen minus 15, Alex Bowman minus 35, and Josh Berry minus 45. Bowman and Berry, those guys are in must-win positions. I think that goes without saying. Shane Van Gisbergen, if he has a decent points day, he could find his way up in there, especially if others have a bit of trouble. And then Dillon, again, ran top 10 in the springtime at Bristol. So can't exactly count him out. And especially with them bringing a new right side tire, we're not 100% sure what this race is going to look like on Saturday night. And hey, if there's chaos and some people get caught up in some wrecks, things could go well for some of these guys below the cutoff line. But For now, Gateway, it was just all right. After the race, we got video. Well, first, we had Alex Bowman point this out after the race that the Trackhouse cars were driving through the grass. That's cool, is what Bowman said over the radio in a typical Alex Bowman sarcastic kind of way. So people went back and pulled up the onboard cameras of the Trackhouse cars post-race. And remember, Ross Chastain finished 24th, Shane Van Gisbergen finished 25th. So it's not like they were up towards the front contending for the win. But after the race, on the cooldown lap, Ross Chastain drives off into the grass, and then Shane Van Gisbergen follows and drives off right into the grass on the right side of the track. And that got everybody wondering, what the heck are they trying to do here? And ultimately, I think you can have your tinfoil hats on if you want to. Oh, they're trying to do something to the underbody of the car. They're trying to drive through the grass, break something, put it back into place, whatever. This is not like when you used to snap the rear end of Cup cars trying to get the rear end to set back after the race. Ultimately, I think this was them just trying to pick up weight after the race. We know that these Cup teams cut weight incredibly close, as evidenced by Alex Bowman last year at the Charlotte Roval. And he missed by a lot, but they were talking about how close they cut it. Okay, we're back into this now. Driving through the grass allows them to, one, pick up a lot of dirt, rocks, sand, or there's probably not any sand there, grass, anything on the tires that they can. It also allows that to go right into the grill area, stuff it up underneath the underbody. Literally any place, any crevice that can hold any sort of weight, they're driving through there trying to get anything to come up in there, because when they go to hit the scales, when NASCAR texts these cars after the race, they're going to be like, oh, hey, yeah, you're good. You're good. You're in compliance here. No worries about the weight. Because again, they cut it really, really close. I think maybe the more interesting part here is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. replied to Jeff Gluck's tweet about this and said that you had drivers hitting the right side of the car on the wall after the race. So I need some video of that. I have not gone back and looked at the onboards of it, but I would like to see who was driving into the wall and trying to do that, because that does get a little bit more questionable. Ultimately, I think you might have NASCAR sending out a bulletin this week of being like, hey, we understand what you're doing here, but maybe don't do that. Because we also had some concern out of the 11 team for the amount of burnout that Denny Hamlin did and the amount of rubber that he laid down on the track, because that's all weight at the end of the day. So we'll see how that plays out. We didn't talk about Connor Zilisch winning on Saturday night at Gateway. It was his fourth consecutive win. Obviously, we know he did not cross the finish line at Daytona, but he is scored as the winner. He's now won 7 of the last 8 races, and his average finish over the last 14 races is 1.9. It's like he's playing NASCAR Heat 5 on intermediate mode and just dominating the competition. How many races did you win this year? 32? Okay, great. Maybe I have played a season like that where you just want to see if you can possibly win every single race. Turns out I cannot, because Richmond just absolutely hates me. I just hate playing Richmond on that game. Never have been good at it. Unfortunate. Ruined my perfect streak for sure. But Connor Zilisch is putting together an absolutely insane run right now in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Since Talladega, back in April, remember when leaves were blooming on the trees, spring is coming, everybody's like, oh, it's going to warm up. Since then, he has not finished outside the top 5. Leaves are getting ready to fall off the trees now. That's how long this guy has been running in the top 5. Just a absolutely insane run from Connor Zilisch. His 4 wins in a row, never been done before in the Xfinity Series. Not even Kyle Busch did that. Kyle Busch did win 5 consecutive starts, but those 5 races were not in succession. So Connor Zilisch putting together an absolutely incredible run so far this year. He led like 121 of 160 laps on Saturday night. Like I said, he's just untouchable right now. The kid he's figured it out. After what happened at Talladega back in the springtime, that fired him up, and since then, he has been on a generational run. Not even Ty Gibbs could do this, and Ty Gibbs' Xfinity program was potentially one of the most well-funded and well-staffed Xfinity programs you could ever have. So this kid is doing really impressive things right now. Excited to see what he can do in the Cup Series next year. Obviously, the 2 cars are wildly different, but he seems to adapt really, really well to any car that he gets into, so it should be interesting to see how he performs next year in the Cup Series. It's what happened after the race, though, that got a lot of people talking, because during his burnout, Connor Zilisch comes sliding down the front stretch and narrowly missed hitting the cameraman that was on the front stretch to capture his burnout. Maybe we don't have cameramen on the front stretch, because that was entirely too close. Nearly Hulk smashed him into that front stretch wall, and right now the sport's making headlines, right, for the lawsuit. Probably not the things that NASCAR necessarily wants to be in the headlines for. Having some cameraman just get absolutely annihilated by a Chevy Camaro on the front stretch would make headlines, and not very good ones at that. We nearly turned the front stretch burnout into a live leak video. That would have been absolutely terrible to have that happen. So maybe we put them behind the wall on tracks that have a narrow front stretch like this, or we just use a drone, because who cares if a drone gets hit? Ultimately, I know the picture quality of a drone looks like crap when it tries to transmission to live TV, at least on the network broadcast. It seems like Flow does a pretty good racing job of streaming it. Same with World of Outlaws on Dirt Vision. Just cable, it just looks so pixelated. It's like you're trying to watch it through a potato. It's terrible. I hate it every single time. But for Zilisch, if this was a Gymkhana video, yeah, this works out perfectly fine. Driver knows where the camera's going to be. Camera knows where the driver is going to be. They practiced it. They talked about it. In this situation, the cameraman did not know where the driver was going. The driver didn't know where the cameraman was going, and we narrowly missed having a big-time disaster on the front stretch. I saw some of the neckbeards on Twitter after the race being like, if this is what it takes to get rid of front stretch interviews, then so be it. Hit him. Hit the cameraman. I don't care. I don't know him, that type of thing. That's small brain thinking. That's just the internet in general, right? Just zero compassion, zero understanding of just being like, there's a more logical solution here than like just annihilating a guy for the sake of like not having front stretch interviews anymore. But I come to expect that out of a certain subset of the fan base at times. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you thought about Denny Hamlin's win, the race overall. Did you like it? Did you not like it? What's your score for it? Trackhouse just probably picking up weight, right? I think that's probably what they were doing there. And Connor Zilisch is on a generational run right now. Thankfully, he didn't hit that cameraman. Like and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on TikTok at BreakHard, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at BreakHardBlog.